In this video, I'll be showing you guys how to code the basics of a fully functional platformer in Scratch. I'll be covering how to move the player horizontally and vertically. I will also cover how to add wall collisions, gravity, and many more things. So without further ado, let's begin the tutorial. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is go to events and grab one green flag clicked and broadcast a message. We're going to call this message reset. This is gonna reset our whole game when we click the green flag to make it go all back to normal. So when I receive reset, I'm gonna wanna show the sprite, and for now I'll just make it go to 0, 0, and we'll set the size to 100. So that doesn't do anything yet, but we're just gonna keep that there for now. Okay, now you're going to want to create two variables. We can delete my variable, we don't need that. The first variable is going to be called x velocity. And make it for this sprite only, because this sprite's x velocity. Other one's going to be called y velocity. And it's for this sprite only. Okay, and at the beginning of the game, when we receive reset, we're going to set both x and y velocity to 0. And after that, we're going to go to events and broadcast a new message, and we're going to name it start game. Okay, so we're now going to drag out a when I receive message, and we're going to do when I receive start game. And we're going to get a forever loop from the control section. And now we're going to make use of the custom blocks. We're going to make a custom block for the player's movement physics. So we're gonna name it movement physics. Sorry, I misspelled that. Movement physics for player. And we're gonna add a input of move velocity, so we'll control how fast our player will move. Friction, so we'll control like the friction of the player. Gravity, which controls the gravity, and jump height, which will determine how high we want our player to jump when we press like W or the up arrow key. And now just select run without screen refresh and click OK. Drag this right down here, and inside the forever loop you're going to want to put movement physics for player. Now let's just set some values really quick. I'm just gonna, for the move velocity right now, I'm just gonna keep it at 0.5 or 0.8 for now, and for the friction I'll keep it at 0.9. Gravity I'm gonna do -1 because it's gonna bring us down to the ground, and jump height I'll leave it at a 15. That's how high we want to jump. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go and grab out change x by and change y by. We're gonna, inside these we're gonna put x velocity and y velocity. So we're gonna change the x by the x velocity, and we're gonna change the y by the y velocity. Now go to control and drag out two if statements. This is basically, right now we're just gonna code the left and right movement. So when key D is pressed, and when key A is pressed. Okay, so when key D is pressed, we're gonna change the x velocity, that's like our horizontal moving, by the move velocity, which is 8.8. And for when key A is pressed, since we're moving left, which is towards like the negative side, we're gonna have to multiply the move velocity by -1 to make sure we're moving left. So just multiply it by -1. And now, as you can see, when I press D and when I press A, my character is moving both left and right. But it's going a bit too fast, and then when I like let go of me clicking the button, it just like flies off to the edge of the screen. So we don't want that. To fix that, we're gonna set the x velocity to the x velocity multiplied by friction, which will add some friction so our player won't just fly off. See? So when we let go, it slowly slows down until it stops. That's how real physics work, so that's perfect. Now what I'm going to do is just create a new sprite. I'm going to paint it, I'm going to just name it platform. This is what our player is going to be standing on and what it's going to be moving around on. So I'm just gonna really quickly design a really simple platform for my player to be on. You can design yours however you'd like, but I'm just gonna make mine like this. Okay, since now I'm done creating my platform, I'm just gonna grab a when flag clicked, and I'm just gonna show the platform, set it to 100% in its size, and I'm just gonna position at x0 and y0. After you're done customizing your platforms however you'd like, you can now change how your player looks. I'm just first gonna name my player, and I'm gonna delete this scratch cat because it's a bit too complicated, and I'm just gonna make a simple blue square for my character. You can round out its edges if you'd like, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so now we're gonna want to add gravity to the game, so our player constantly moves down and touches the ground. First thing we're gonna want to do is change the y velocity by gravity. So y velocity will constantly be changing by -1, which is gravity. So as you can see, it just keeps moving down, and it's going down, down, down. It's not going to stop, and that's not what we want right now. We want it to touch the gray platform, so it can stop moving when it touches that, so it can stay there and stay there still. So to do that, we're going to need to create a new custom block, and we can name the block move in steps. Okay, and we can add an input of steps. Okay, so now we're gonna go drag out move in steps, and for now we're just gonna leave this empty. We're gonna put something in there later, but we're gonna first define what move in steps is. First thing we're gonna do is grab a repeat. Okay, so repeat, and inside the repeat, instead of 10, we're gonna put steps. And now we're just gonna program the collision for the vertical axis. So first thing we're gonna want to do is create a new variable and name it last val. This is just short for last value of the player before it started touching the platform. So we can put it back to where it was before, so we can add collision. Now we're just gonna make this for this sprite only, and now we're gonna set the last value to the player's y position, and after that we're going to change the y by y velocity divided by steps. So just put steps right there, and we can just get a y velocity. So we're going to change it by the y velocity divided by steps, and if we are touching the platform, we're going to set the y position of the player to the last value. So basically what it was before it was touching the platformer. That's what we're going to set it to. We're going to set it to the last value. Okay, and after that we're just going to set y velocity to 0. So since we have this, we can successfully remove this. We don't need that anymore. And now inside the move in steps, we're gonna put the absolute value of y. So we want the positive value of y, not the negative. That's why we're doing absolute value of the y velocity. So now, as you can see, when our player starts falling, it touches the ground. It doesn't fall all the way down like it was doing before. So now that's perfect. See, we can move horizontally and we won't fall through the ground like we were before. But we now need to add collisions for our horizontal axis, the x-axis, because right now we're just going through these platforms when we are moving left and right. So to do that, we're going to repeat what we did here, but we're going to just do it for the x value instead. So for now, just take this out and set it aside right there, and we're going to get a set last val, and we're going to set it to the x position this time. Grab the x position and just set last val to the x position. Now we're going to change x by x velocity divided by steps. And if we're touching the platform, we're going to want to set x to the last value, which is basically what the value was of x before it was touching the platform. So just set it to last value. And we're going to also want to set x to 0. We're going to set the x velocity to 0. Now we can just put the collision for y underneath this. Now since we have all that, we don't need the change x by x velocity right here in the movement physics. That's kind of useless, we don't need that. Okay, before we can start and click the green flag, we need to change this move in steps part. So instead of just getting the absolute value of y, we need the absolute value of x and y. So just duplicate that like this. So now you have the absolute value of x velocity and absolute value of y velocity. And just get a plus operator and addition, and then just put absolute value of x velocity plus the absolute value of the y velocity. So we're taking the positive value of both velocities. Now as you can see, our player has collision left and right, which is perfect. So everything is working perfectly fine right now. We've added collision, left and right movement, and now the next thing we need to add is jumping. Right now our player can only move left and right, and it can only collide with the walls. It can't jump, and jumping is like one of the major parts of a really good platformer. So now we're going to add jumping. To do that, we're going to first create a new variable and just name it falling. And for this sprite only. Now just grab if key W is pressed, we're going to want to set the y velocity. We're going to set the y velocity to jump height, and the jump height is 15. So every time we jump, we're going to set the y velocity to 15. So now as you can see, we can jump, and we are falling down to the ground and not falling through because of gravity. But as you can see, we're jumping pretty high, and we can just like fly away and jump and touch the ceiling, which is not what we want. I mean, at least for me. So to fix this, to make our player only jump once, we're gonna utilize the falling variable. So first thing, just go to control and grab an if statement and put the set y velocity jump height inside of that. And we're gonna grab a less than statement, and we're gonna set this to 3 instead of 50. And now we can grab the falling variable, and so if W key is pressed, then if falling is less than 3, then it'll set the jump height to 15. So it's going to set y velocity to 15, which is the jump height, so our player can jump. But we're not done yet. So now we're going to have to go to variables and change falling by 1 in move in steps. Just put it right here in the beginning, and scroll down to the end right here, and you're going to want to get another if statement. So you can just duplicate this, and instead of it falling, just put it to y velocity, and instead of 3, just put it to 0. So if y velocity is less than 0, we're gonna set falling to 0, and we're just gonna put this underneath set y to last val, and we can put set y velocity to 0 underneath all of this. So that's all our code, and if I click the green flag, now I should only be able to jump once. And that's exactly what's happening. So this is perfect. Now our character can move left and right, it can jump, and it can collide with walls without falling through. It also has gravity, and if you like, you can change all these values right here. You can change these values to whatever you'd like, so you can fully customize your game. That's why I really like custom blocks. So that's it for this tutorial. This is part 1 of many to come. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want the next part.